Coming up on today's show, hind build. We got part 12's update, having a look at how the hind's coming together. Live shows this week, every night this week we've had 2.5 hours, 3 hours of live shows. We're up to about 10 hours now, so we'll be having a look at what's been going on. Streaking, used it on the hind. It's a very helpful technique to have, especially for correcting mistakes, so we'll be having a look at that. Kit reviews, this week we've got the Hobby Boss Tacom 1/48 scale, and we've got the Tacom 1/35 scale Mark IV tanks, and comparing them to the last week's Tamiya video. Plus we got all the group builds and SIG news. Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Flory. Amazing week this week. I know I say it every week, but I think most of you will probably agree I've had a very busy week this week. Not only doing all the normal stuff, the day-to-day running, everything that we do here, but also with the live shows which have been going out for 2-3 hours at a time. It's made for some extremely long days, but I have loved every single minute of it. As most of you know who've been watching them live, it's our new way of being really interactive with you. So what's going to happen now is these things are going to become quite a regular feature, daytime and nighttime and everything else. Hopefully I'd like to try and do one in the future anyway, around about sort of one a week, and then every now and again we do a batch of what we're doing of these ones all week. Okay, so over the last 2 nights I've had Sid with me, which has been absolutely fantastic because he's been asking me all your questions and everything else. It works great with the forum because you can watch it at the same time as actually being in the forum as well, with the new live streaming area on the main site, or you can do it via the forum, just have separate tabs. And the biggest difference now is I've got the hang of the camera, which we normally have over here and things like that. So we've got a new PC down there which is running all of this, and it manages to actually stream in pretty good quality. Well, it's doing it in 720. I would say it's on a par with our older type of videos we used to do for quality, so I can show you in depth and everything else, and hopefully might be able to tweak it a little bit more and get it even better for tonight's show. But certainly it's been a pleasure because you guys have been chatting. We've had 200 comments coming in during the evening asking questions and things like that, so I can sit here and literally show you in real time. So you would say to me, I don't know, picking some random questions. We were talking a lot about metallizers, it seemed to last night, and I can actually get them down and talk it through. Also, we can look at the forum as well, so with the interactive system I can show you other websites and obviously other things in the forum on the screen at the same time. I'm sort of getting the hang of that now, and looking at your work when you want me to have a look at your work and various things. So it is absolutely fantastic, and it is extremely laid back. We sit here with a drink and we have a good laugh, and we definitely had a lot of laughs over the last couple of nights doing it. The drawback is obviously not getting much work done. The whole idea of last week's was to actually do the post-apocalyptic group build. This is my entry for it, was to put this guy in and all the rest of it. But because of having a laugh, quite frankly, and answering all the questions, I haven't exactly got on as far as I'd like to. So what I'm probably going to have to do is carry this on now over the live shows. So during the live shows, I'll carry on doing this, and I'll probably do that for a kit because it's quite nice because you can sit here and model and chat and have a laugh and everything else like that. If you haven't seen any of the videos, fear not, you can actually go along and see those in the main site, okay? They're listed up in the live area. You can go in there and go through them. The best way, to be honest though, is go and have a look in the forum. We've got the live streaming archive. They're in there. They're currently in the live video area itself because it's current, but as soon as next week comes, I'll move them into the archive. Page 1 obviously has the link to the video. You can watch actually a recording of the actual show itself, but you can see all the comments during the evening as they were coming in, and answers and links and everything else like that. Excuse the squeaking, that's the puppy, has obviously got his new squeaky toy. But certainly it was been a lot of fun, and it's a great way because it feels like we are a lot closer as a group, because now I'm getting to know a lot of you. You guys who have been with me every night this week will get the old Flory Models badge. As I said to you on last night's show, they're not here yet. They are due in today, but we don't get the post till what, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So check tonight, and then hopefully I'll have them and I can show you on camera. But everybody's been with us all night will all get a free badge, one of our new Flory Models girl badge ones, and everything else like that. The other thing as well, we've had a lot of questions about what's happening with the company. As a lot of you know, the company is going to be split up at the end of the year. The full official announcement will be made later on in the year near Telford for what's going to happen next year. The main thing that you guys have to know is that I obviously will be having nothing to do with the new side of it for the sales and the wash and everything else. So I will dedicate 100% of my time to actually doing this and getting back to this and working on the site and everything else than that. So the other company is taking over the sales side of it, but it won't affect anything at Flory Models whatsoever, okay? But anyway, so it's been a lot of fun, and as I say, been up quite late doing all of this, but really enjoyed it. I do have to thank Sid Knight for helping me over the last 2 nights. Absolutely fantastic. And hopefully we'll get him back and he can be joining us again, and we'll get some other guys in. We're planning on now doing also, when we do the Geek Meets, we're going to have them live streaming as well. We'll get them in the old wide cam, get the camera set up down this end so you can see all the guys and can see what we get up to as well. As again, it's more of a social event rather than modelling, okay? Getting back to the modelling, the Hind. Absolutely loving this one. She's pretty much finished now. We've got just little bits and pieces to go on. We've got to do the wiring for the back for the aerials, which I'm going to show you in depth because a lot of you ask about putting aerials onto aircraft. We're going to look at that. Got to do the lighting. We've got to do the final weathering, which is like stains and drips and things like that. That goes on, but that's always going to go on last. But generally, as you can see now, she is really starting to look nice. I'm very happy how this is. We've got to paint the bug eyes on the front as well, but I'm going to do them as a separate and everything else. But generally, really, really nice. Now, one thing that came up this week, which you're going to see full part of this, part 12 is up on the site now, and it's highly in depth about what we're about to see now. This is just a short one. I've done it as a tips thing, purely because sometimes you get a little accident which turns it into a weathering technique, and this is definitely one that I learned a while ago, and it happened on this, so I show it in this because it's quite a nice one. Basically with this, what I did was I dry brushed everything as I normally do, just to give it another layer and to get some grime streaking downwards. So it's just dry brushed up and downwards motion, and I put too much paint and actually put a splat of grey brush right up the side of it. So I show you about removing that and then taking it and turning it into a weathering effect to give you a nice multi-textured, sort of coloured finish to it, which sort of recreates staining and everything else, and you can actually get rid of things like watermarks from decals and everything else. So let's have a look. Now, one little trick you can do, if you go over the top, and so I hate doing this to my own models, but hey, okay, so if you go in and you think, oh no, look, we've gone a bit over the top now, look, we've got these big stripes down here, fear not, okay? What you can actually do is obviously take cotton bud and then your airbrush cleaner, okay, I'm just going to make a little pool here. Just grab a bit of airbrush cleaner, okay, and just give it a wipe over very, very lightly, okay. You see how they go? All right, now you can use this to your advantage. Airbrush cleaner isn't strong enough on its own to actually wreck your model and start stripping paint, okay. But what it is capable of is just taking off that top layer, but you can make it look like weathering. Because what we've got here, if you see these now, they're all disappearing, and it's giving us more streakiness to our paintwork, giving us a more worn look. Okay, so if you want to bring it in, because what's actually happening is a little bit of a funny thing. It's going in through the paint layer, so the more wet it is, the more it'll pull down. So if you want to do these very, let's call them fancy weathering techniques, you can buy aftermarket stuff to do this, which is, this is one of those things. But if we just do it down this front area here, so just taking your cotton bud and then downward movements with it, okay, and we can just scrape down, and we're going to give these effects of water drainage down, because what it does, it eats through all those weathering things we've put on here to give you that sort of weathering thing. Okay, so we're just going to go up and down, but we just take little areas, but hopefully you can see it here, those ones on the back now. I know the glare's a little bit bad today. Okay, so if we just grab a little bit more, just a tiny bit, we're just going to do up here, down here. Okay, and we're just going to run around up and down and just put in some of these nice streaky marks that we get. Okay, there we go. We'll just do a few more little ones just down here. Okay, around this cockpit, down the bottom. As I say, it's a little bit tricky to know when you're right and wrong, but there is no real right and wrong with this, so we're just going to streak these down. Okay, but just think about where it works. So like for instance here, you can see I've got one down here, so it's like water's going down and just giving you that sort of scrapey look. Okay, so perhaps on door handles around the bottom there and everything else. So again, this is one of those things, don't panic when you think it's all gone wrong, because there we go, we've just retrieved this back section. If you look closely here, you can see we've retrieved it, and now we've given it another layer of weathering. Okay, as we go right the way over with this one. So I do apologise for that camera angle, it's a little bit blurry. Okay, and everything else. So when you get to that thing when you're dry brushing and it goes wrong, or if you're in any particular type of situation, flow with it. Okay, just go, okay, right, okay, you've got a problem, it's not quite right, how are we going to fix it? So from my point of view there, I'm thinking, well, we need to rub it off. Okay, so you don't want to use thinners because you know you're going to go straight through everything. Remember, there's no protective coats on this whatsoever. So then you have to say to yourself, well, okay, what have we got that can do it? Airbrush cleaner. It's good enough to clean out your airbrush, but it obviously won't strip things. A little bit on a cotton bud, just wipe it over there, just take off that last coat because it'll be softer, it's only been on there a little while, and everything else. And then you end up with a weathering effect, and you think that's brilliant and all the rest of it. But you can buy expensive filters and washes which do this, you know, and it's a case of you've already done all the work. You don't need to do any of that. If you haven't done it, then buy the washes because you need to put them on. But if you don't, you can get away with it. But now this is drying back, hopefully you can see it's just given us a sort of mottled streakiness down on the back here, and you can see on the decals. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, how much we got dried on here. Okay, we're just going to carry this on a little bit more, so I'm just going to take a bit more on here. Okay, so we're just going to do a little bit on this tail. Okay, and as you can see, we'll just do another quick demo over here. Okay, little streaks, scratches and everything else. Okay, here we go. We'll just show you again. It's going to clean the bud. Alright, so there we go. This is the problem we've got. We've gone a little bit over the top. We've got some streaking and various things going on. Into here. Okay, and then literally we're just going to wipe it up and down. Some of it you might want to leave in, some of it you obviously want to take off. Okay, and we're just going up and down, because also what you're doing is, don't forget, this stuff you've just put on, you're going to blend it in with everything else. Okay, so we just do up here. Just going to take a little bit across the top. Okay, so it actually just works all in your favour. Okay, so like this bit back here. Okay, all you can see is, as I say, I've got terrible glare today. It's a lovely sunny day outside. Probably havoc with my recording equipment. Okay, so there again, we're going to go right over this. Okay, and I'm just going to tidy up this guy. Okay, jumps a little bit more here. And there we go, there's that tail blended in now. So you've got the same effect going on here to here, alright, as it goes through. But these are just great little effects because, again, you can't go wrong, alright? Don't worry about them too much. It's just that thing. The only thing you can do wrong is put too much airbrush cleaner. So if you notice how much I'm putting on here, it's just a very, very small amount. Okay, so we're just going to rub over here. But by using a cotton bud instead of a tissue, you get a lot more control. Okay, so we're just going to grab a final bit up here, There we go. The thing that's happening here, it's a mixture. Okay, it's the paint is a little bit obviously still soft, so it's rubbing off a lot easier than perhaps normal. It's thinning it because obviously you're going over it, but then also what it's doing, it's getting in that situation where, you know, the grime and everything we've built up is being manipulated and moved around. Because now we're doing this up and down movement, we can go around and make it all look very, very nice. So there's our tail now. And it's got various details and markings in there, and it's just that level going on again, okay, and it's keeping it all in one. The other thing you can do with this, which is a great little technique, is, and I'm glad it's done it in some ways, in other ways I think, oh god, you see this here, okay, it's like a tide mark. Well, this is the softeners and the setters reacting with the paint, and then it gets caught in the grime. Another good example I've got it is this tide just here, okay. Normally I let them go. I think it's part of the weathering and away we go. But again, if you take some airbrush cleaner on your brush, okay, and you go along, you can rub them out. But just be careful because you can go too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some of this and we're going to do some dry brushing just to make it a little bit even, okay. Okay, so that's all on there like that. So we just grab a little bit more airbrush cleaner. Okay, a little bit on the bud. Okay, and we're just going to run round with it. And you should notice, there he goes, it goes. Now we do have to be a bit careful because you are scrubbing it a little bit harder, and what it is, the pre-shading is starting to come through underneath of that, so we're going to avoid it. Move off elsewhere. Grab that. And just put it up in there. This is just a great way to blend. If you were an artist, this is where the bit they would say you're doing your blending. Okay, so that's what it is. You're rubbing it to blend it all in together. Okay, and there we go. That's it. But what we've got here, this is actually the pre-shading starting to come through. So we've sort of used it in our favour to sort of weather that in and everything else. Okay, but as you said, it just gives you that next layer. It's a little bit wet at the moment. But if we move down to this guy down the front here, okay, what we can do, we're just going to very lightly going over with it. In fact, it's going to take a little bit of dry brushing to this because obviously we need it all to blend together. So by dry brushing, it sort of just brings it all and helps it all to go. Okay, so same thing again. Go around, lifting it off, and there we go. Lift it off, got a little bit just above, that's a little bit lightness coming through, so what we're going to do is playing with it now just to drag him all down. Okay, so this guy down here, again this belly area and everything else. So there we go. Weathered in, little nice bit of weather in there, nice touches. But as I said, it's all these little things that can do it. Okay, so by this multiple stage we've put through, we've now ended up with what I'm almost happy with as in our final weathering. We've got everything that I wanted to have. So actually on this one, what we've got is a situation where you've got the bleached, heavy weathered look. It's got the grime, the oil streaks, and all the various things in it like that. Fantastic, okay. Next thing it needed was that sort of weather beaten, washed, rained on effect, everything else. Check, just on that one now, okay. So next one up is just that dusty and direct staining. Okay, so you might have a situation with exhaust. So we've got to put an exhaust on here just to tarnish this all up. So by certainly obviously the Hind, it does have quite a heavy exhaust stain coming off these big old engines down over the top of the back of the wing section there. So we need to take care of that, put that one on, and then some little hydraulic streaking, which is dead simple to do. I'll show you how to do that as well. So that is going to conclude our actual weathering for this one. Okay, so there we go, that's about that. And obviously members, you can see the full thing of that in part 12 and everything else. As I said, it will be finished off this afternoon. I intend to do it this afternoon, get it all done out the way, and that one's done. And then next week we're going to be starting on the HE 111, so we'll be cracking on with that one. And then I'll be honest with you, I'm going to have a short break of about a week or 2 weeks before I start on the Typhoon, because I'm going to do a little quick build. Purely because when I do big stuff, and we spoke about this in the live shows this week, I get burnt out because purely I just get bogged down in the middle of builds, and when there are these big builds and lots of things. So what I'm going to do is just going to grab something from the stash, which might be something quite small, 1/72, something else like that, and do a quick out of the box build, which obviously I'll show you and everything else, but it's just for me to get my mojo back and really get back into it. So I'm going to have a quick look through the stash over the weekend, grab a kit that's going to be something straightforward, no problem at all, and do a build. But it's just how I get that, stop that sort of block. Okay, sometimes we all get it, you hit the wall when you're modeling and you just don't fancy it and all the rest of it. So what I tend to do is do a quick, simple build. I've done them in the past. If you remember, I did the Seafire, which was just to get my mojo back. I did the Predator drone because it's a straightforward, no problem. I like doing quick builds because, I say, it sort of reinvigorates you. I can have a good clean out, clear through the studio, get everything out of the way and move forward with it. In the same time, next week, it's all here, as I say, but it's one of those things. I just want to get this one out of the way so I can get through. We're going to work on the Typhoon. I'm going to do a different type of camo work to this and show you a completely different way of doing it. I was going to do it this week, but with the live shows and everything else, it's really taken its toll. So this will put us back on track. So the Typhoon is, the Tornado will be done next week, all painted up. So we're going to be talking about camo, wraparound and everything else like that. So we'll be into the spray bay with that one and having a lot of fun, because to be honest, that's what I love, doing all the airbrushing work and everything else like that. So plenty to look forward to and everything else. Couple of kit reviews. Okay, we've got the actual, this is the Tacom Mark IV tank. Now last week, you know, we spoke about the actual Tamiya one, we reviewed that. It's the same tank. We've got the male and the female versions here. As I said, the only difference is the female has the machine guns and the male has the 6-pounder cannons on it. So let's have a look. Okay, continuing our theme on World War I tanks. Last week we actually reviewed Tamiya's new release of the Mark IV male British tank. Now, obviously, you know, we love that kit. It's very nice, it's motorised and everything else. It's not the only player in town. Tacom have also done two. They've done the male and the female, okay? The difference between the male and the females we spoke about last time was the male actually has the gun, the cannon, okay? The female has the machine gun. They also did another version called the hermaphrodite one, which had machine gun and cannon, okay? So it'd be interesting to see how these guys stack up against the Tamiya kit that we reviewed last week. Now these kits are extremely similar, so I'm only going to go through one. So what we're going to do, we're going to pick out and go through the male one, and then we can spot the small differences afterwards. So, looking at the box, as you can imagine, we've seen this before with Tacom kits. They do this nice box art now, giving the sort of profile views and everything else with some details about actually what's on it. Being the male one, this one comes with a 6-pound gun and some nice detailed shots of the cutaway, which we did see with the Tamiya one, but obviously it showed their motor. This is versus showing some nice internal details. Okay, and then on the other side, obviously you've got your sprue layout and everything else. Now this particular kit is 2008, the other one is 2009, okay? The first thing you notice is this box, it seems a lot heavier than the Tamiya one. The Tamiya one, I don't know if it's the box is more flimsy or anything else, but generally doesn't feel as heavy, everything else. You do seem to get a lot more plastic in this one. Certainly if you're just looking at this lot, this is everything we have in here. The other thing that's been very nice with these kits recently that we've seen is that you actually get a very nice, thick, decent instruction booklet. Okay, so we're just going to slice this guy here. Hopefully we've gone through it all. Yep. Now, the other thing as well we get immediately is some bits falling out, so we just keep them safe. Okay. So what we've got down here is, looks like a correction sheet straight off the bat, which is something we'll have a look at in a moment. We've got some photo etch we'll take a look at, the decals, some chain, very nice, looks like we've got a milled turned barrel, and some poly caps. So in here, this is very much like cardboard, all right? We've got the other one. I was just wondering where that one was. Okay. Very nice down here. We've got a thank you down in here, and then generally, if we just flick through this one, as you can see, working our way through. So generally, as you can see, we've got the actual parts layer, everything else, and then we're going to work our way through the actual thing. So we've got the Lewis gun going in at the front, talking about the colour callouts, which looks like they're all in Tamiya, the plating going together, the front, which in some ways looks a little similar, shall we say, but this one, straight off the bat, seems to have more detail, if we're honest. Okay, going down through here, so you're building the center section first, then we're going to bolt on all those areas afterwards. So looking down, as you can see, making your way through, getting the side plates on, you're actually putting the gearing and the mechanism, which obviously is non-functional in this, onto this one, okay, as it's going in. And then looking at all these parts, they do seem to be very nicely done. And generally the detail in the drawing, and what I love is this sort of aged paper. It's almost like a card effect. It's very, very nice. Okay, then we got the track work all going on there, which again, it's tracks, but I don't think they're going to link together quite like the last lot did, but we can have a look. Okay, and going through, painting on the tracks, putting the skirts through, and then the same for the other side as well. So you do put in all the gearing work and everything, which is a very nice touch with these. Okay, and then more track work, and then working around with these guns. So obviously this is the £6 gun going in here, putting those in. It's the poly cap for the actual, so the gun is movable, which is a nice touch. All the areas going down in there, and then we put this metal barrel on the end here, which obviously you're going to have to super glue down in. It feels very light, so I assume it's some type of aluminium or aluminum, depending where you are in the world. Okay, and then obviously Lewis gun for the turret, going through, down on those go in, very similar to the way the Tamiya one went, but immediately I'm looking at this, it seems to be more detailed than the Tamiya one, which you never thought you'd hear me say. Okay, and then again the pods, this is where it's slightly different, this lot all clunking into the side like this, then the outer pod somewhat reminiscent to what we've seen before, and then putting the chain system on, so obviously it's saying open up the chain, and then you can cut it to put it actually in and do all of those for the de-ditching over the top. Okay, then we've got it, so obviously it's a captured, showing in German markings, which again makes it really, really nice one. Call outs in Tamiya, so we got the XF 64 brown red, 63 German grey, and 60 dark yellow. Okay, and then the back, a little bit more about the debreaching, and then the standard British colours, obviously the khaki overall, which was the standard flat red, flat white for the markings for the front. And that is it. And I do love this booklet. It's absolutely gorgeous because it's grey and it's a sort of aged booklet. It's a little bit different. Now the correction, which is parts 41, so let's have a look to see where they went wrong or what they're actually doing. The correction sheet is for this guy here. So this is what it is. It looks to be G11, G19, that's all the same, G25. What it is, it's part 41, this load of stuff here, if we show you in the close-up. So actually what you've got is a situation where, as you can see, they've miscalled it G17, it's actually 53, 25 all the way through. The other ones down here, E5, 21, G50, yeah, this one's fine. It's literally just this bit here has a correction sheet, but they've printed the entire page instead of obviously just that bit there. Okay, so that's the only problem. So let's have a look and see what we get. Okay, I'm going to do these in order and we're going to go through. So okay, looking down at the detail, I have to say there's nothing really in it. As you can see, these ones down here, pretty much on a par of what we saw with the Tamiya kit. We got obviously the riveting and the bolts and everything else. There's nothing really in it. They're pretty much the same. The plastic feels a lot heavier though. It's a heavier weight plastic, but tends to be pretty good. 0 ejector pins on this side whatsoever, which is quite a nice touch. Okay, and in fact we've got a little bit of sink marks down in here. Catch them in the light, you might be able to see them just a little bit there, but nothing you go mad about because you're not going to see it. But generally the big thing you notice is where's all the ejector pin marks. I've got one in here, there's nothing anywhere else. Very nicely done, and this is something we noticed with theirs before. Okay, very nicely bagged, they're heat sealed, very tight, so you've got minimal sort of manoeuvring around. There's no real sign of flash or anything else. The Lewis guns I don't think are quite as nice as the Tamiya ones, if I'm honest, but that's not too bad. The sprockets look a little bit soft, but again, I'm no expert on these. It's quite nice how we've got a little bit of sag on this chain as it's going round, so that's quite a nice thing. But the major thing you notice is the general lack of ejector pin marks. There's no ejector pin marks on anything. Okay, which is absolutely lovely to see. Again, no problem with any of those. Nice parts, all of those. I'm not going to get these out, and I'm not going to attempt to build them. But this here is our pack of hundreds, and you've got, what's that? 1, 2, 3, that's 5 sprues for doing the tracks. But look at all of this lot in here. This is a nightmare. So I'm sold on the this kit here, quite frankly. I think the tracks have sold it to me completely. That said, we've got a lot more plastic in here and a lot more parts. Okay, so again, we're looking around here. We've got the de-ditching bar running right the way over the top. No ejector pin marks on that as well. There's quite a nice bit down here. We've got the hatches, as you can see. Everything else, but if you look at all these tiny little small parts, they're all incredibly done. And a few things, obviously there's an ejector pin mark in there, see? It's only because I'm spotting these things now. But no problem with any of that at all. Very nice, very clean, very crisp. It's a sharp kit, okay? That's what I think with this one. Okay, next up. Okay, so this is where the guns are. These are these big 6-pound guns running down the bottom here. You can see the details, but you can generally see the lack of flash on any of these parts. There's no real problem with any of them, and we've got all these different ones very nicely done. And as I say, no real problem with ejector pins. You know, it's funny how some things have them, like they've got them in here, but obviously you don't see them. But anywhere that would have something you would see, they don't have them. It's really, really nice, very cleverly thought out, and obviously very well engineered. So that's all pretty good. No problem with any of those. It's a nice, good, clean sprue. Again, I'm not going to get this out, but here's all those road wheels. Well, I say they're not really road wheels, are they? They're more like rollers, I suppose you'd call them on this thing. Okay, as you can see, so you've got 2 sprues of those to do, and this is the nice sprue we want to see. Okay, so this is where it's slightly different. The breakdown was different for the Tamiya one, but generally, as you can see, you end up with your sprue just like that. Okay, and then breaking it down, obviously in the detailed look, you can see. If I had to say, I think the detail is slightly better on the Tamiya one, just a tiny little bit sharper. Overall detail of everything else, I think the Tacom kit would win it for me. I think would get my vote for overall. If I was building it, I'd probably do the Tamiya one purely because of the tracks, which I know is a real sad, lame excuse, but it's a real ball ache really doing all of that lot when, let's face it, I played with them, I built up 5 in 10 seconds. It was a brilliant way of doing it, very clever by Tamiya. Okay, but doing all of those, putting them together, each side of the link, that's a long, laborious job. But this is absolutely stunning. The detail, because you've got details on the inside and then the outside detail, absolutely stunning. But it's just this bolt pop riveting and bolt riveting, things like that, it's just not as sharp and precise, I think, as Tamiya has done it on theirs. Okay, perhaps we ought to do a side-by-side comparison, but generally when you're looking at them on the close-up, I think these are just a little bit softer. Now, is that a problem? I don't think so, not at all. And certainly what I was saying the other day about it would be nice to see World War I kits and we could, you know, really sort of, you know, really immortalize that type of side of the war, because I think it's been overlooked for a lot of years, especially from modeling. These kits really are going to bring that all back to life, and I hope they do the entire series. You know, they actually work the way all the way through the marks and everything else, because that would be an impressive display. You could do obviously tanks then from First World War right up to modern. That would make a great display to see with them all together, but certainly a beautiful one. The female, as we said about, is basically the same kit exactly the way through. It's going to build the same, different markings obviously, things like that, but obviously instead of having the big 6-pound guns, this guy has the machine guns on the side instead. Okay, so that's the major difference between the two. So you can either do, as I said, the male 6-pound gun, the female with the machine guns. I don't know if they're going to do a hermaphrodite version of having both. It'd be interesting to see that in the future. Certainly a more substantial kit than the Tamiya one. Yes, it doesn't have the motor, yes, it doesn't have the easy tracks, but I think from if you're into your World War One, you're going to want to do the Tacom one, because quite frankly the Tamiya one is more of an easy put together, no problem at all one. This will take a little bit more work to get it together. I think this one will probably give you a more satisfying build, shall we say, than the Tamiya one, but if you just wanted a straightforward build with no problems, then I'll probably take on Tamiya. Okay, so there we go. That's the review for the Tacom Mark IVs. As I say, I'm very put off by the amount of that track work. When you look how easy the Tamiya one was, if you haven't seen the review, it's available as a standalone now. Have a look at that review. You can see it's a click together, and it will probably only take you sort of 10 minutes to do the entire track system on it. The track system on that, I think that's a major project. Just the cleanup of the parts alone just will take forever. Apart from that though, I have to say I think the level of detail is slightly better in this one than it is on the Tamiya one. So you've got that thing, if you don't mind doing tracks and all things like that that are going to take forever, then obviously you can go with the Tacom kit. It's a little bit more expensive. This particular kit is £50 each. These come in at $49.99, where obviously it's £35 for the Tamiya one. The Tamiya one's motorised. Okay, a lot of people are saying it's a gimmick. Personally, I think it's a good gimmick and I like it. So from my point of view, I would build the Tamiya one. But as I said, if you're into your armour and you want something that's a little bit more detailed and a little bit more complex to go together, then certainly your Tacom is the way to go. Next kit we've got up is the Hobby Boss. This is the 1/48 scale Super Tacano. Similar to the Tacano I did the Alicat resin one for obviously the British version as the trainer. This is the new EMB 314 Super Tacano. Okay, kit review time. Today we've got the Hobby Boss 1/48 scale Super Tacano. Certainly a kit that hasn't been readily available in injection moulding. We have done it before, and we do have to mention it. We have built and got a full photo and video build. Sorry, go something. Of the actual, this is the Alicat one. Now the difference is this is solid resin. Well, it's not totally solid, but it's almost solid resin. Great kit, went together lovely, and all the rest of it. But certainly, if a little bit of a handful, shall we say. So it's quite nice now that the actual Hobby Boss have come along and brought us an injection molded version. So straight off the bat, looking at the box, as you can see, very nice artwork on the front. We've got a couple of call outs on markings, as you can see them there. We've got the one down here, kit number 81727. Okay, and the usual blurb on the back and everything else. So inside the box, we get the usual Hobby Boss, what's coming out in the near future, which is actually, funny enough, their Tacano. A couple of other bits, the instructions of which we can have a look at now. Okay, so we've got a colour sheet we'll have a look at in a moment. Okay, so usual thing, a little bit of history using the various tools and everything, and then straight in. So our normal type of standard call out for these things. So we've got the sprue layouts, the decal sheets, got a little bit of photo etch coming in here, and then into the kit parts itself. Normal thing with the seats going through there. We've got a decal instrument panel, which is fair enough. Okay, it doesn't look too bad looking at the drawing, but we'll look at it before. HUD's going in. I presume this is a little bit of photo etch to make up the HUD, quite a nice touch. A little bit of photo etch for the harnesses on the seats, again very nice. Okay, and it goes in, so front wheel well, and then putting the main one in, which is pretty much standard. Okay, and then as you can see, it comes together very quickly. So obviously canopy on, tail planes in, a couple of grab handles for the actual main windscreen set, because obviously it pulls across. I'm putting in the extended little vanes and the bits and pieces on those. Wing seats go together and then fit in. You can see quite a basic aircraft. Okay, so gear, as we can imagine, a couple of pylons, which are quite nice. The only thing I do know about this kit is, unfortunately, it doesn't come with a center pylon as the Super Tacom actually comes with, which is a little bit odd. There is an aftermarket update set available for this. I haven't got it or had it or seen it, so I can't comment, but there is one available. We've got the blades going in there. It's a one-piece system, and then putting the blades in individually, so I presume you could actually pitch them to whatever propeller pitch you want. The exhausts fitted, and then obviously the weapons fit. So we've got down here fuel tanks, a couple of sidewinders, which are P versions, and L, so you get two types of sidewinders. We've got some Mark 82s, retarded snake eyes, some normal Mark 82s, and a GBU 12, which I didn't realise it carried, and everything else. But as you can see down here, when you look at the one here, it doesn't show it with a centre line yet. I always thought it did come with a centre line. Then we got the nice bit. So down on the instructions, we've got the one here, so you can actually do the version, the Brazilian one with the green over grey, and then on the other side, a little bit more colourful, we've got this sort of sea colour, Southeast Asia colours of the greens and browns. Okay, and then we've got a more modern light grey over dark grey, which I presume are going to be the gold greys. Well, they're saying, yeah, compass ghost grey, light and dark ghost greys on those, and then obviously your weapons. So in the box, if we do the fuselage first, he says, grabbing a blade. Okay, so generally first impressions pretty good. Okay, it's a softer type of styrene, it's not like the hard one, but quite frankly that's quite a nice touch down there. It's all pretty good, nice recessed panel lining, seems to be very sharp, no massive signs of flash or anything else. Usual things, we've got the cockpit detail, as you can imagine, all down here, pretty nicely done for something at this scale. We've got some wiring and everything down in this wheel well, but you can generally see on the close-up, catch it in the light, you can see we've got some nice details, some nice panel lining coming in those up in the inside. Nothing to speak of on the inside, unfortunately, so there's no detail in there. Pretty good. I've got no sign of sink marks or anything in there, so that's pretty nice. Okay, wing section. So in the wings, if we start with the upper surfaces, we catch them in the light, you can see some nice detail on there for the guns and obviously the gun panels. We've got little stress marks just here, catch them obviously off light, you can see, because underneath here you've got these ejector pins, and these are these stress marks obviously where they pushed out of the mould. Not too bad, can't see any problems. The underside of the wings, so obviously we've got some light panel lining, okay, and then obviously the holes already been put in for the weapon fit. Some of the smaller parts, so we've got down here the instrument panel, right, okay, it's a decal going over it, and then working our way through, we've got the front cowl exhaust, the covers, the wheel well, the actual spinner itself, and then again gear, and some little boxes and things. Generally got a tiny little bit of flash, but nothing you go wild about. Everything seems to be quite nice. Wheel wells a little bit basic, obviously you could liven them up with a little bit of lead wiring. The wheels are one piece, so all moulded in one, which is fair enough. Can't see any problems with it at all. It's on the border of having faults, but not really, because the stress marks are very close, but it's not affected in any way. Okay, so we've got a match pair down here. This is weapons and various things, so we won't worry about that one. But as you can see, you've got the seat detail, the fuel tanks, the main gear one as well, the exhaust, which are pretty much hollow. You could get away with that, they'll work. The propellers got a little bit of flash on this guy down here, but the rest of them haven't. They're going to be a fiddly little gits to get in, I imagine. Sway braces look particularly heavy and big, but I'm the same, don't know this aircraft particularly well in a combat form. One piece pylons, nicely detailed, recessed panel lines on both, and working its way through, so that's quite nice. The weapons set, So as I say, we've got the P, which I haven't seen a P sidewinder for ages. This guy here with the funny fins on it, that's how you spot the P. Generally, actually, the weapons fit looks really, really nice. The GBU looks pretty good. No problem at all like that. The sidewinder's got a little bit of flash on it, but easily clean up, and everything else looks pretty good. Snake eyes look good, and normal slicks, they're all very, very nice. No problem there. Okay, the canopy, which is beautifully separately bagged, which is a lovely touch. Okay, so we just flip this out, which is really nice to see. We have a centre seam running right down the middle of the canopy. You can probably catch it in the light just there as it comes over. And unfortunately we have got a centre seam down here as well on the actual windscreen, which is not nice, but you know, a couple of swipes you can take care of that, no problem at all. HUD detail, light detail and everything else you can see down here, not too bad. The actually doesn't look too bad, you can see it as well as I can. Doesn't look too bad in here. I can see perhaps a little bit of distortion, perhaps just down in here we've got a little area. I think it's okay, very usable. Okay, get rid of that center seam and be no problem with that at all. Very usable part. We've also got a small little fret of photo etch, as you can see. So there's that front heads-up display, number 5 there, as you can see, and then we've got the seat belts and harnesses and things like that down there, and we've got the little ejection pull handles, which are quite handy in photo etch as well. So next up we have the decals. Have a quick look. So as I said, it's very nice when they're taped in position like this. I do like them because that way they stop getting scraped and just generally scratched. And these actually look very nice. I don't know if we should know the company of these Cartograph doing the decals. Doesn't say it, but they do look very nice. They've got a sort of satin finish to them, but you can see anything with a shark's mouth always gets my vote, as you all know. The other markings you can see, pretty good, all of those. Can't see any problems, they look very nice. This little guy here is double taped, which is quite a nice touch. And again, so we've got the instrument panels, front and rear, obviously the spinner, the propeller markings there as well, so that's very nice. No problem with any of that. And then I won't get it out because it'll be nice as well, but we've got the weapons one in there as well, so that's pretty good. And I must admit, you know, if you want a resin, you know, and work that down it, then obviously we've done the Alley Cat one. It's a very nice kit. It's very heavy because it has a lot of nose weight in it to stop it being a tail sitter. And it's one thing I didn't notice on that. You probably will need a lot of nose weight in that to stop it being a tail sitter. I must admit I didn't see it in the instructions. It may have been in there, but it said don't forget that one, otherwise you're in for a lot of trouble trying to get enough weight in that to make it not a tail sitter. But there we go. If you're after a Tacom and you'd like an advanced trainer like that, then definitely this is the kit for you. Okay, so I've had a look through this one, and to be honest, it doesn't mention anywhere anything about nose weight. I think it's going to need it. In fact, I'm 100% it's going to need it. Otherwise, it's going to be a tail sitter. Unless there's something I'm missing here. The other one needed a lot of weight, and I know it's resin, but it just doesn't mention it anywhere. So I should think, don't take any risks. Chuck a load of lead or something weighty in the nose of it, just to make sure you don't get a tail sitter. Otherwise, it'll be a bit of a nightmare trying to get it to sit up right. But I've been through the instructions, and it just doesn't make any reference to it at all. I just can't believe it's not a tail sitter on that point. Okay, so next up we've got things going on in the forum. As I was reminded, I am so busy with other things that I've overlooked a lot of the group builds and SIGs that are going on in the forum. We've basically got the Operation Overlord D-Day one. You've got the 23rd of November to run on that one, so you know we're only talking, you know, not long now, a couple of months, and we're on par with that one. We've got the post-apocalyptic, which hopefully would be okay, SIG. That's going to run to the 26th of October, so you've got quite a bit of time for that. Some great work coming out of this. Remember, it can be anything you like. There is no rules to that one. We've got the Tiger SIG. That's going to finish on the 14th of September, this Sunday. So you've got the 14th of September to get on with that one and get that one finished. We've got the Great War 100 SIG as well. That's going to go on to the 16th of November as well, so you've literally got a couple of months on that one. And then obviously we've got the new SIG starting. So this one is going to be starting on the 4th of October and it's going to run to the 11th of December. And this is going to be the Cold War Russian armour SIG, okay? So plenty of scope in there for all the sort of Cold War Russian stuff. It's a SIG, there's no prizes. It'll just be the montage video at the end and everything else like that. The area is already set up in the forum to it. Hans has already done that one. So there's plenty of bits and pieces to be getting on with that one. Well, there we go. What an absolute week. I must admit, I'm pretty much drained and I'm having the weekend off. We've got friends coming down and everything else. I'm going to have the weekend off and just relax because quite frankly, I'm absolutely beat. But what I'm going to do this week, I'm going to leave you with a few of the little bits and pieces from what we've been up to in the live shows. So until next week, everybody, happy modelling and take care. Okay, welcome back again. Thursday night, September the 11th, a day we'll never forget, certainly. I'm Flory with Sid Knight.
Hello
again. Just bear with us for a sec. We just make sure we are working.
Not actually, the webcam doesn't move. It's just software that maneuvers it around. We've got a little gizmo attached on the software side of things now, so I can pan and crop and zoom and do weirdo things with it. In fact, I can do some quite funny things. I'll show you later. At the end of the show, I'll have a play because you can do some quite funny things with it.
Ian has said, can you apply enamels over Valero's surface primer?
It's a bit of a controversy about this stuff because you get people who say you can't put acrylics over enamels and enamels over acrylics and various reasons why. Not all paints are the same. Not all acrylics are the same. Like technically polyurethane, you know, is that acrylic? I don't know. It's like a latex based, isn't it? So I don't know how it would actually work. But not having any here, as such, I do actually. Somewhere. Hold on, I've got an idea. I can find it. Hold on. Let's find out. We'll have a go. I have it here, and the lid even opened. Right, hold on.
There you go, Ian. So keep watching.
Hold on, we will find out live on air. Right.
So this is interaction for you.
Yeah, no, this is what this is all about. This is what we wanted. Poor stuff, isn't it? Right. I'm going to brush it on just to see what happens because I don't want it going through my airbrush, if I'm honest. That's got metallic.
It's one of those things that's called got bristles on it.
Yeah.
I know you don't use them.
I don't use them very often. No, I don't. Terrible. Right. Okie dokie. This one here is where we did the primer one. So if you were here on Monday's show, this is where I sanded it off, and to prove that you can sand it over or after a bit of time. So what we'll do, we're going to grab a bit here, a bit sparingly because we want it to dry and see. Okay. Right. Next question as we go.
Okay. Next question as we go.
We'll come back to it because it needs to dry to see if it's going to bubble up.
Hello, Russell. So loving the shirt, Sid. Very swish. Evening, gents. Nice to see Sid has dressed up for the show tonight.
That's it.
That's Clive. Dave has put, thanks, guys. John Buller, video stream looking great, even on my phone. Lovely. Is it nice and cold where you are, John, or has it died off a little bit? Seems you're out watching rugby. Alan.
I think you just love the smell of enamels in the morning.
Alan's put a quick tech update for you. The picture quality is the best yet.
Brilliant.
All in perfect HD. Thank you, Alan.
Well, I think it's as good as we're going to get with this. Hopefully. Well, I don't know. I don't really want to leave me gaming rig down here, but we'll see how we go. We're going to have to, I think, if this is now apparently going to be a regular feature. So we will. Where's my cleaner?
Ian's put, Phil, you've become a great ventriloquist.
Well, yeah, I've got you operating me now.
I cannot see your lips move when Sid talks.
That's it.
Cheers from work in the coffee. Colin's put, hi guys, after last night's show, not sure if you are the new two Bonnies or Cannon and Ball.
That's it. Or Ant and Deck.
Last night's show was hilarious. Keep up the fun element.
Oh, we will. You know, this is the big thing with this, is that obviously it's a bit of a light-hearted evening,
Indeed,
isn't it?
it
That's
is.
the whole point. That's why we have a drink here and all
I
the
think
rest
I was
of it.
petrified as well.
And he
last
was
night.
terrified about doing this yesterday, like bricking it. And I know it's very easy because I sit here and yap to you guys all the time, but when other people sit here, they suddenly realise how terrifying it is when I say, right, and we're going live in like 5, 4, and they're like, the smell in here can get quite intense, and it's easy to make people squirm when I literally say, well, there you go, off you go, so it's not easy having guys in here and all the rest of it, so kudos to you, Steve. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
It's your second debut, but last time you were pretty drunk, so that didn't count.
No, it didn't do it. No,
That's it.
yeah.
You had Dutch courage going on.
And then you had to sort of really persuade me to do that as well.
That's
Because
it.
I kept on trying to hide, but it didn't get anywhere, did it? Hans is on, bless him. Hello, Hans. He's saying, hello, we are on in the USA during lunch break at work.
He's on a permanent lunch break. He never works. He's the boss, he doesn't have to.
Right, just loading up page 3.
I want to know, Ross, Mr. Armstrong, if you're watching this, can you put us on your massive TV in your cinema room and see if it's clear?
They will all
Can have
come
us on this
popcorn.
huge thing, yeah, with the popcorn and all the rest of it. Brilliant. We want to know how we look on the big screen. Maybe we turn this into a film. Feel like the In-Betweeners. When we go on a road trip.
2.5 men, we just need somebody else now.
Yeah, we need half a man.
Yeah. John?
John, Mr. Buller.
Well, just waiting for the comment coming
Yeah,
back.
he'll get us for that one. I can feel we're getting shot next week.
So Peter's put, I've used a cheap pound shop screen wash for thinners.
Yeah.
For thinning Tamiya for years.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how this compares to using X20A. Got 2 of them unopened. Oh, and I did the Tamiya Mark IV for the Great War Sig.
True.
Tracks are a doddle over
Tacom
ones.
Yeah, that's right. Screen wash. I say, the thing is, screen wash was the staple thinners for everybody who was into modelling back in the 70s. Everyone just used screen wash because it's. Well, I don't think it's quite that now, but that's what it is because it's got an alcohol based in it. Most screen washes are alcohol based, and let's face it, that is what all thinners is. They're all alcohol based in some way. So
vodka then?
You could do neat vodka. Yeah. Do you know what? I know somebody who does that because he's got this real cheap rough stuff, and it's like But anyway, yeah, you could even use obviously pure alcohol because let's face it, it's IPA, and IPA is the staple I think for most anything really thinner wise, and certainly in like airbrush cleaners and stuff like that, they all tend to have an alcohol based in there. I wouldn't drink it for a minute, but certainly it's that's what they are. So going back, is it the same? I think you'll probably be pleasantly surprised, but the trouble is if you've been using screen wash for years, you know how it works and you know what ratios to thin to. So when you move over to a synthetic one, i.e. X20 or X20A, something like that, it's going to be different to what you're used to, and you're just it's going to take a while to get it. But my point is, if you're happy using screen wash, then I would stick with it. You don't need to go out and buy this stuff that's expensive. If you've got a formula that works for you, by all means use it. Certainly don't follow the herd. And go out and do it. But I must admit, I did try the screen wash one years ago and didn't get on with it. Yeah, brush looked lovely though, but it was clean. But certainly bubbles covered out of it. Yeah, I can see my face in the chrome work. It was beautiful, but thinning wise, not so much. I must admit, I didn't get on with it. And to be honest, X20A changed my life for spraying because it was one of the light bulb moments. X20A wasn't available in the UK when I started airbrushing, which would have been around about 1994, properly, when I made the big jump. You couldn't get it. And funny enough, I was reading a magazine and it mentioned it, I think, in a thing that it came from, obviously, the Tamiya stable of products and all the rest of it. And I'd started using Tamiya paints at that point. And I ordered a bottle online, and it turned up a couple of weeks later, and it was like, ding, it works. One of those real light bulb moments. Something came, but it was like, great, no problem. Thoroughly enjoyed it, airbrushing from that point. Until then, it just fought me all the time. I just couldn't get it into work. Right.
There you go.
And that's it.
George. Hi, Phil and Sid. Great evening's entertainment. Please remind me when you do your propose to start the please remind me when you're going to start the Rebel HE111.
Maybe back end of next week, as soon as that. Because I'm going to start that before I start on the Typhoon. I know a lot of people are waiting for the Typhoon, but I'm also waiting for everyone else to finish it. Not so I can copy it, but it's a bit like, you know, running a marathon and then joining in at the last bit. So I know lots of people are getting on with theirs and making their way through, so I want them to sort of come through and then I'll do mine. But yeah, the HE111, to be honest, I don't know if you can see it down here. I don't know which angle you're looking at, but behind is almost done. I've got another probably day's work on it just to put all the little bits and pieces and the final tiny bits of weathering on it, and it is finished, it is complete. So that is technically out of the way as of maybe tomorrow afternoon when I finish doing the new show and everything. I'll get that recorded in the morning, edited and uploaded, and I'll come back down and work on this guy, puppy permitting.
Indeed.
And then obviously the weekend, I must admit, I'm having a weekend off. We have friends coming down.
Ooh.
Having the weekend off, which is the first one for a while, and then Monday or Tuesday I will start on the HE111, so part one of that guaranteed will be up next week.
Okie dokie. And that's George from Portsmouth.
Thank you, George.
Ian, Phil, that was me that said Sid needed to be in a Flory t-shirt.
That's it.
Thank you, Ian.
So now he's got one.
George, but by the way, this is much better quality tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys. As I say, we're now
to
streaming in glorious HD. I've lost my Sharpie.
Keith Ross, good evening, guys. Enjoying the live stream on my iPhone.
Ooh, very posh.
Adam, evening, gents. Would you guys be up for looking at one of my completed builds and giving a couple of comments or stroke critiques? That's the one.
Yeah.
Have a look at my started threads and check one out.
Who is it?
Adam Challenger.
Right. I'll tell you what, Adam. Stay where you are, and I can just zip across. Hopefully.
What page are we on? We are on
page are you on?
Page 3.
Oh, you're on page 3. I've gone ahead now.
We are comment number 36.
36. Okay, Adam. Let me just go up here and we go members started topics.
Let's see, I wouldn't know to do that.
I see. Okay.
Doesn't say what's completed build, just says one of his completed builds.
That one's brilliant.
Oh, that one's
that's amazing. That looks just like the real thing. That one. Yeah. That Eurocopter's brilliant. I love the black work. Oh no, sorry, damn.
Oh look, that's gone all yellow.
Now he's got all yellow and everything. I'll tell you what, I will try and do something clever here, but it could go horrendously wrong. Everybody.
Are you going to try and put it in the corner?
I'm going to try and put it on the screen.
Ooh. That means they don't have to look at us.
No.
Yay.
Okay, hold on. Screen share. I say this could go horrendously wrong. If it does, I apologise, everyone. But you should be seeing now.
A helicopter.
A helicopter. Okay, hold on. I need to go to the helicopter. Yeah, brilliant gloss work. I love the way there's no silvering on those decals. No, seriously.
It's almost like the real thing. Does that mean we misbehave now off camera?
No, because they can still hear us all. I think. I'm not sure. Oh, he's halfway through fielding. Does he want us to look at one he's finished?
He said one, yeah, completed one.
Oh, right. Sorry. There's us taking the mic. Right. Hold on, Adam. Let me just go back a page and we'll have a look. Completed. Gallery. There we go. Corset. Very nice. I'm assuming they can all still hear.
Yeah, and that looks very nice.
That looks very nice. Nice weathering, nice bleaching work. Chipping on the leading edge of the wings. Very, very nice. I'm not being funny, but that blue is a nightmare colour to work with. It's just horrible. I know, I feel what I'll say.
Decals can't be easy to match up either.
No, that's right, yeah, getting the decals to sit on that. But I like the chipping work and everything else like that. Fading blue is really, really hard thing to do, to be honest, because it's so easy to go over the top on it. And you end up with a sort of faded blue rather than the bleach blue. The only thing I might suggest, if I may be so bold, is when you're doing this type of blue work, Mix it with a little bit of grey, so you make a different colour shade rather than just lightening it by a shade. By going in with like a darker grey, as long as it's a grey that's somewhat going to light it, it will help. Okay, and that way you sort of avoid the sort of lighter look to it. It gives it a change of tone in the blue without making it lighter almost. So you get a more of a bleach look to it. But doing it generally is really, really hard work because you've got the good pre-shading and everything coming through. So I would say try doing it with a little bit of grey and then basically go round. So I'm just looking for another one of your others. Finished silver screen McLaren. At the centre. We know this one anyway. This one was an absolute. I remember this one.
Yeah.
This was an absolute stunner, and that's what we were saying about. Really nice, really sharp, and I think I mentioned it when it was actually part of the reveal that it was nice because the decals, there's no silvering on it, and everything cut in well. And as I say, it's got real presence, that model. So really, really like it. Well done, fantastic work.
Indeed.
So hopefully we should be back now.
How do you replace raised panel lines on any kits, but most notably aircraft kits? I have tried the stretch spur trick, but are there any other ways to get around sanding off seam lines after filling or sprue gates left over?
To be honest, my little way of doing it, which I like to do, is I use the old blade trick. Sorry, that must be my other computer doing something, making a funny noise. It's probably why he's not seeing us. It's just blown up. Yeah, what you want to do is, if you use your normal car blade, don't use a lethally sharp blade. You want to use something, quite an old blade, that's quite strong, okay? And then literally, and I'll do it on this, well, I won't do it on that particular part. Things are not, oh yeah, but basically what you do is, I'll be a bit thin, I'll cut through it, that's the trouble. It's all right.
You need a steady hand.
I know. Need some more room. I need a bigger studio. The way I would do it is literally you use your scribing templates, obviously use a ruler. Place down, grab your blade, okay, and then you just make a very strong push and you cut down through it. Now I know you're never going to see this. Well, you might do. No, you're not. But what it actually does, if you do that, you actually get what looks like a raised panel line, but in fact what you've done is caused a V where you've pushed down the blade into it and it's made like a very sharp V at the top, okay, but it's raised it over the top of it. So it actually gives you then this, which isn't down, because obviously there is a groove in the middle, but you can't really see it. But if you give it a go, get yourself a piece of plastic card, put this down, but as I say, don't use a sharp blade. Don't use one of his lethal, you know, scalpel things.
Don't use one of those.
Don't use one of them because they're too sharp. You need a thicker blade that actually does a bigger job. But then all you do is place it down and then pull it across, and you actually get, to see, a raised panel line effect. And that's how I replace them. Because to be honest, I did a few 1/48 scale Lancasters, the Tammy ones, and they're raised panel lines all over, and that's how I do it. So obviously you've got the centre seam across the top where it comes in. I just literally go over the top with them and take them in like that. So that's the thing. Easiest way, no problem at all. Stretch sprue, I've never been able to do that. You know, you get the guy, because when I glue it in, it just goes flat again. So, but I have tried it, but it just doesn't work for me.
Apparently, I'm not quick enough.
Oh, is that what it is? What, to stretch it?
You've got to do it in one solid motion.
Yeah, so it's on there, and then you pull it, and then it just gives. I'll pull my shoulder out, so if I tried that, I'll break my arm.
Yeah, no, I've never achieved that.
Oh, right.
Comment 109 from Mark. Thanks, Phil. Never thought of Alclads, and I do have them, but never used them before. Can you give me a quick ABC on how to?
Okay. A for Alclad. B for no. Okay.
Brush.
Yeah, you can't brush them. Okay. Preparation of your surface has got to be good. So if you can spray it onto neat plastic, that's not a problem. But just make sure you've got rid of any sanding marks or filler or glue marks or anything else, because they will just show up and they look truly horrible. Okay. If you can prime them with a gloss or certainly a satin primer, it will look a lot better. Next up, putting your actual alclad down. Use a pipette to get it out of the bottle. Don't try and pour it because it just goes everywhere and it's horrible stuff to use. So squeeze a bit out, neat into your airbrush, air pressure. I used to spray around about 10 to 12 psi to try and get it down. You need a certain amount, but you certainly don't need a lot. You don't want to be spraying it at 30 psi because it mists it on, it dries too quick, and you end up with a very sort of, it's not a rough texture, but it just doesn't look right, okay? So lower that air pressure down. And also, when you're putting it down, just keep it as what I would call solid coats. So don't sort of dance around sort of like this, putting it down. Nice, strong airbrushes over to whatever you're actually airbrushing, okay? If you dance around, sometimes you get this sort of milky look to it and it doesn't like it, okay? And everything else, and just do it like that. But certainly don't thin it because it's thin enough already, and make sure it's had a good mix.